Hello, this is Christian Okoye, former Kansas City Chiefs. You are listening to Grilling Truth.
Hi, and welcome to the weekly college football pick'em show podcast here at thegrilling.truth.net, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, an interactive football game app which pits you against other football fans across the country in predicting the next play within a live NFL game. I'm sorry, maybe someday they'll have college games available as well. Do you think you're smarter than the average fan? See for yourself at Gridiron Mo through this very website, thegrilling.truth.net, or at gridironmo.com. My name is Oz Davis. I'll be the, the moderator for this head-to-head discussion on college football. The first head on the show is that of Mike Goodpaster, the fearless leader here at thegrilling.truth.net and a general expert on just about everything. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Was that sarcastic?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, everything you said was true, but I think that you may not have believed it, but we'll just go with that. How you doing, Oz?
I'm okay, Mike. I'm okay. See, you're an expert on everything, including sarcastic intros like that. It actually wasn't totally sarcastic.
It was?
It wasn't. It wasn't totally sarcastic.
Totally? Okay, whatever.
Yeah. You just have to figure out the non-sarcastic bit. Pitting his wits against Mike this week is a co-host of the weekly Title Town Huddle Green Bay Packers podcast here at thegrilling.truth.net, as well as a panelist. That's what I'm going to call them right now because we get about 120 guys on this show on the NFL Weekly Pick'em Show. His name is Aaron Zepnick. How's it going for you, Aaron?
I have a feeling I'm walking into a windstorm here, but I'm going to battle wits since I tied Mike this week on the NFL Pick'em show. I'm going to battle wits with him and see how it goes.
So he got some confidence. He got some confidence now because
he does
first. He's the only person on the NFL Pick'em show out of the 5 that has not come in first by himself yet, though.
And yet he's tied for number 1 overall?
Just this week.
Oh, for this week.
Yeah, I mean, for the whole thing, I'm like 5 up on 2 of them. I'm 7 up on Aaron, and Coop, I'm like 100 games up on because he missed a show or 2.
100 games.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is the weekly college football pick'em show, so we're going to pick some college football games. But first, I wanted to talk about a couple of other items. As everybody with a brain in their skull knows that the first bowl rankings came out last week. The next batch will be coming out tomorrow, Election Day, November 8th. Crazy enough. The top 4 that they released this week, of course, were Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, and Texas A&M over Washington. Filling out that final 8 were Ohio State, Louisville, and Wisconsin, who ends up being the highest-ranked 2-loss team. They beat out Auburn and Penn State in those rankings. Of course, I think the biggest surprise is that inclusion of Texas A&M, who lost this week. What changes do you expect this week, Mike?
Well, I would expect Washington would move into 4 where they should have been to begin with. Mm-hmm. You know, you get the SEC bias, Texas A&M. I mean, they played a decent schedule. They get a close win against UCLA at home. Basically, they got a close win. I mean, they get close wins all over. I think they beat Tennessee by a point or 2. And then Alabama blows them out. I don't know why they would have been at number 4 over a Washington team that's undefeated, beat the number 16 team Utah the week before, and has put about 70 points on everybody they've played.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so what about you, Aaron? You have not been, I don't know, the biggest supporter of Washington this season. You think their schedule's too easy. Do you think that they're in the top 4 this week?
I do, and in fact, I would put them and Louisville ahead of Texas A&M before the rankings even came out, because Louisville's only loss was to Clemson, and in a tight game. So how can you put a team that got blown out, with the same record, ahead of a team that's been in every game and lost a close one to the team that you admittedly think highly of and have at number 3? That's 9-0 Clemson.
Yeah, and on top of that, Aaron, I could have seen Ohio State being ahead of Texas A&M.
And I wouldn't have a problem with that either. They're also 8-1, big win against a team that you have as the top, 2-loss team, Wisconsin, who, they don't have a lot of pretty wins. They haven't beaten a lot of teams that are up there, in Mike's words. But you know,
they haven't beaten anybody that's any good.
The show we'll get into that. But I am not a big supporter of the Pac-12 because my brother lives in Arizona and I've heard Pac-12 my whole life. And generally they get beat by the Big Ten teams in the bowl games. And a lot of those games are home games for the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl.
So you're saying through history, the Big Ten generally beats the Pac-12 in bowl games?
Not always, but we have beaten UCLA. I know the Badgers have beaten UCLA and played Stanford, who they had no business being on the same field with, and played them tough. And I think we did beat Stanford in one Rose Bowl as well.
Yeah, you beat Stanford in 99. So you got a couple of Rose Bowl wins. But overall, ask Ohio State fans and Michigan fans how it works out when you go to the West Coast. And to say it's because they get a home game, I don't think you can call it the Rose Bowl and play it at Lambeau Field, Aaron.
I understand, Mike. But, again, if these are played at neutral sites that are true neutral sites, I think it would be a different game.
But they are neutral because they give the same amount of tickets to each side. And if you ever watch the games, the fans are usually split down the middle.
Yeah. But, again, the travel, I mean, there's something to be said about having jet lag. There's something to be said about the travel and studies and how it affects you got to remember, these are still student athletes.
No, they're not. I don't buy that at all, because if they were still student athletes, they wouldn't take 5 weeks to get to the Rose Bowl. And, I mean, the other thing is this. The thing about the schoolwork, what school's doing schoolwork from the second week of December through the first or second week of January? It's usually your time off at school anyways.
Well, a few schools do. Something like a team like Northwestern is on a trimester schedule, so they actually do have classes at that time. But
yeah,
Northwestern Northwestern is an
actual school where you have
football
student athletes. Ohio State's not.
Right. Penn State is, though. Right. Penn State is one of those schools that has serious classes and expects their athletes to attend them. However, that's neither here nor there, I don't think. Okay, so if it's not Washington in the top 4, who is it? Is it Ohio State? Is it Louisville? How come Louisville's not getting more props?
Because they're the second best team in their conference. You know, when you have Clemson undefeated and Louisville lost to them, it's tough to have two teams from the ACC. And whether we want to admit it or not, the SEC bias is there. And I also think there's a Big Ten. Something to be said for the Big Ten. There's a lot of rich tradition in the conference, and they don't do well in bowl games, as we are well aware.
But neither of you guys would blink if Michigan and Ohio State were 3 and 4. And I think Michigan's a better team.
I don't think that Ohio State should be in over Washington. Not when you have an undefeated.
Okay.
Yeah, that and Washington has the most NFL-ready quarterback in college football. They have one of the best defenses in college football. And, I mean, a great offensive line. I think there's a case to be made that Washington's the best team in the country. But that will play out because they got to play USC and at Washington State. And those two teams, both in the top 25 now and as hot as anybody in college football.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up the NFL-ready quarterback of Washington, Jake Browning, because I did want to discuss this. Over there at thegruelingtruth.net, the college football ratings are, of course, done up by Mike Goodpaster about, 7 microseconds after the last game is finished.
Yeah.
Puts it up super quick. And he ended, I believe you ended the Louisville description with, is there any doubt that Lamar Jackson is going to win the Heisman Trophy? Okay, well, Mike, will you answer that question? Is there any doubt? And if so, who is in this competition?
The only doubt is if they were to basically crap to bed and lose a couple games between now and the end of the season. But what he's done, I don't think anybody can touch. I mean, to me, you got Deshaun Watson, who's on an undefeated number 2 ranked team in the country. If they win out, Lamar happens to lose a game and play really bad, maybe he could slip in. But the wild card to me is Jabril Peppers, which I think they never picked. The Heisman Trophy is supposed to be the best college football player in the country. And I don't think there's any doubt right now that Peppers is the best college football player in the country. I mean, the guy plays offense, defense, special teams. He does everything. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to it, if you got a quarterback that's throwing up 6 or 7 touchdowns a game, you almost have to go with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So who's going to be the number 3 draft pick in the NFL?
Number 3?
The Jets, maybe? Well, I mean, this is where Peppers is going to go, right? I mean, the quarterbacks are going to go 1 and 2 again in the draft, I assume.
What quarterbacks are going to go 1 and 2, though?
Browning
won't come out yet. Browning's only a sophomore.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
yeah,
sure
so he's not
that.
going anywhere yet. I think Peppers could be a number 1 pick, according to who gets the number 1 pick. But your 1 and 2 picks are probably going to be Cleveland, San Francisco, who both still probably need quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think, Aaron? Is there anybody else in contention for this award? Is Peppers going to have to settle for the Butkus Award?
No. Lamar Jackson, it's hard to turn down, the numbers. I think he's a clear-cut favorite in my eyes. If I were voting today, it would be Jackson 1. Deshaun Watson from Clemson's had a good year, but there's a guy that we haven't talked about yet that I think is under the radar because of the school he goes to, not in a real power conference. The Donnell Pumphrey from San Diego State has had a huge year. And I don't think he'll win it. Like I said, the power conference, power conferences generally get the looks, but this kid's had a great year. And, it's a name that I wouldn't be surprised if he's a runner-up or the second runner-up.
I think he should be top 5. And the other thing you've got, though, is people just started noticing because he ran for over 300 yards against Texas Tech. But Dante Foreman, I think he had 341 yards, 3 touchdowns on 33 carries. He's actually almost caught Pumphrey now as the leading rusher. I mean, he's a huge running back. I think he's a guy that could be up there also. And I think another guy that people aren't thinking about, if Jackson and Watson happen to lose, if J.T. Barrett can take Ohio State and have a phenomenal game against Michigan, maybe he can get himself into running. And another guy that people forget about is Baker Mayfield, who, if you take away the first 3 weeks of the season, may be the best quarterback, numbers-wise at least.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, okay, on a weekend when you have Jackson going for 7 touchdowns and you have Browning going for 6 touchdowns, it's kind of, on just 19 completions, by the way, it's tough to throw a third name into the
but Mayfield has thrown for 4 touchdown passes in 4 consecutive games. And completed like 70% of his passes. And, I mean, he's played like that ever since. His problem is his team defensively was terrible the first few weeks of the season. They lost a few games. I think he finished 4th last year in a Heisman Trophy balloting, and he's going to end up with probably better numbers than he had last year, so I think that he may slip into the top 5 again. And you talk about Donnell Pumphrey. San Diego State's a 1-loss team that's really good. But when you talk about teams that should be in the rankings, I mean, a team that I really like, nobody ever talks about, they're undefeated, is the Western Michigan Broncos, who are 2-0 against Big Ten teams also.
Yeah. Absolutely. They're having a very good year, and it'll be interesting to see if a couple of these 9-0 teams lose. It'll be interesting to see how far Western Michigan can climb.
Probably not very far. They're not going to get any respect, but that is also one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of college football is because basically you don't have a true national champion. I mean, if you look at a team right now, USC lost the first game of the season to Alabama 52-6. If they played Alabama now, it would not be 52-6. And I think they'd give Bama a run. I think Bama probably still beats them. But, I mean, right now a team like USC, a team like Washington State who's won 6 consecutive games, and the Pac-12 is not a bad conference. I mean, and I know there's probably SEC people out there that are going to think I'm nuts, but I think the Pac-12 right now, if you put, I mean, let's face it, the SEC championship game is going to include Florida. If Florida is just a defensive team with no offense that's going to get run out of the building by Alabama or Auburn. And, I mean, when you look at USC, Washington State, I think both of those teams would handle Florida without much problem.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that Florida is a defensive team that lacks that firepower they used to have. You know, the Jabbar Gaffney days and Tim Tebow days even. So they put up points. Now they're not putting up the points. But I think there's a lot of good defenses in the SEC, though. I really do. Auburn's got a good defense. LSU has a pretty decent defense. Alabama obviously has a great defense.
But see, the problem, Aaron, is this: if you've got a great defense but you've got no offense, it's really hard to beat a really good team.
Well, it's
if you play Louisville, no matter how good your defense is, they're going to score mid to high 20s. And you got to be able to score that too. It's just like right now, I don't think, hands down, Alabama's the best team in the country. But if Alabama has to match up against a Louisville or a Washington, it's an awful lot of weapons to slow down. And Jalen Hurts has had a good season, but he hasn't had a season where I think that you could say in a national championship game you could see him throwing 4 or 5 touchdown passes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Alabama can score 4 or 5 touchdowns on just about any team in the nation.
Well, they couldn't on LSU, and LSU is not a great football team.
LSU didn't get past the 44-yard line of Alabama. They were never really in danger of losing that game. And
it was nothing though into the fourth quarter or late third quarter. So you're always in danger in a nothing game.
Yeah, but
that was 7-0 until there was 4 or 5 minutes left.
Yeah, but if you can't score, you can't beat them. And playing in Baton Rouge is no joke. No matter how bad or how down LSU is, playing in Baton Rouge is no joke on a Saturday night.
Well, if you look at Alabama, and I mean that could be true. I don't know when that was true. It was maybe true at the start of Les Miles' thing, but Alabama seems to go in and beat them most of the time. But the LSU thing, I mean, it's a team with no quarterback. Now, I think this. I think that the problem Alabama has, Alabama against Texas A&M, Texas A&M was able to move the ball because they could throw it. If there's a weakness to Alabama's defense, it's the defensive backs. And I also think that if you have a quarterback like a Lamar Jackson or a Deshaun Watson, I mean, Watson proved it last year. They put, 37, 38 on him in a championship game. Yeah. And if you got a quarterback that can threaten them by running or throwing the ball, that's something you don't really see in the SEC this year. So my thing is, you throw something like that at them, they may have trouble with it. I mean, I don't think it's a said-and-done thing that Alabama is going to just walk through and win it all. No. And if Washington is getting battle-tested by Washington State, who's a really good team, really good offensive team, and USC, Alabama's got to play Auburn in Florida. Auburn's going to be a low-scoring game, and that's the other thing. I could see this. I could see Auburn upsetting Alabama, winning the SEC title game, and then you end up with Alabama and Auburn in the Final Four.
That could happen because of the SEC bias. No other conference will get two teams in.
Well,
Michigan and
Ohio
State, couldn't? Michigan and Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, I could see Michigan. What if Michigan goes to Ohio State?
Oh, because they play each other yet, so one of them is going to lose.
So what if Ohio State beats Michigan by a point, and then Ohio State wins the Big Ten?
Right.
I mean, Michigan, right now Penn State's a team like USC and Washington State that wasn't very good at the start of the year, but now they're kicking everybody's butt. That's a team Michigan beat 49-10. And, I think Michigan gets overlooked. Michigan also beat Colorado, who's a Pac-12 team. And you mark it down now, Colorado has a good shot to be a playoff team one of the next 2 years. And, now, if Washington has to play them in the Pac-12 championship game, they've got 3 top 15, 20 teams that they've got to play before they get to a championship.
Right. I'm just saying with the Michigan-Ohio State thing, whoever loses that game will be out. Because
Wow.
What if Louisville loses? What if Clemson loses? I don't think you can say that because of the way
unless all these other one-loss or 9-0 teams. Remember, it really counts on when you lose. Losing later in the season, and this is where their schedule may be a detriment to them, losing this late in the season will hurt them in the voters' eyes for the 4 playoff spots.
Well, I think that if you're a Pac-12 or Big 12 team, that's true. I think if you're a Big 10 or SEC team that draws good crowds and big TV ratings, it's not so much true.
Look, were any of the top 4 teams last year 2-loss teams?
I don't think there's ever been a top 4 team that had 2 losses, has there, Aaron?
Well, see, there you go. Well, there you go. That answers the question. Aaron, you may be correct. Whoever wins that Michigan, or whoever loses that Michigan-Ohio State game may be out.
Yeah, but Michigan would only have one loss. I'm just saying this. I'm saying, according to what else happens, I mean, you get crazy ends of the season where maybe Louisville gets upset by somebody, Clemson loses the ACC championship game, and then say Ohio State goes and loses to Wisconsin or Minnesota in a Big 12 or Big 10 championship game. Mm-hmm. Then Ohio State's 2 losses, Michigan's 1. And you know they're not going to take Minnesota or Wisconsin because that won't help their TV ratings any.
Yeah, I could see Wisconsin getting in if Michigan would beat Ohio State and then Wisconsin would beat Michigan in the Big Ten championship. I don't see Michigan or Ohio State getting in if they lose and don't make their championship game. I don't see how you can have both of them in.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this. If Michigan was to lose and Wisconsin won the Big 12 championship game over Ohio State, I still think Michigan deserves it before Wisconsin.
Yeah, I would agree with that, too, that they won't have 2 Big Ten teams in unless Michigan would beat Ohio State and then Wisconsin would beat Michigan. I think that's the only way they have 2 Big Ten teams.
Well, I don't think there'd be 2 Big Tens because they'd just beat Michigan probably. I just think it's almost impossible for a 2-loss team to get in no matter what conference they're in, unless their name's Alabama or Ohio.
If Clemson and Washington lose, I'm saying I could see Wisconsin getting in.
Yeah, but if Washington...
I think you need more. I think you need more than that because I'll tell you what. If the committee is looking at this thing and they've got 3 of the 4 spots set and they have to choose between, say, Louisville and Wisconsin, Wisconsin's not getting in.
Yeah, I mean, Louisville's got a huge win over Florida State. I mean, Florida State's still a good team. They've lost 3 games, but all 3 teams they've lost to are ranked in the top 10.
And again, if Louisville does not make their championship game, I don't think they'll be in consideration for the Final Four.
We'll see that.
Well, what Mike
the
is
4
implying,
best teams should go.
What Mike is implying to some extent is correct, and that is, and I'm a firm believer in this. I think that number 4 spot is designed for TV ratings. Okay, you're going to have to bring in either the team that has a huge fan base, like an Ohio State,
or
has a lot
of got the Heisman Trophy winner.
Or, yeah, right, exactly. Has a lot of personal intrigue on the next year's NFL draft pick. I don't think Wisconsin has, any of these criteria. And, I mean, it may be unfair, but I think that 4th pick is all about ratings. I do.
Yeah, I still think they need to take the 4 best teams. And Louisville lost by, 3 points at Clemson in Death Valley, which is the toughest place to play in college football. I mean, that's their 1 loss. And, I mean, they came from 20, 26 down, took the lead, and then Clemson nipped them at the end with Deshaun Watson. That's their only loss.
You and I will agree on this. Louisville has a lot more intrigue and a lot more ability to score to play with any of the other 3 teams, so it would make for better TV.
Yeah.
And they also have a better defense than Wisconsin.
What I will say is, as far as power conferences go, the ACC will not. If you don't make your ACC championship game, you don't deserve to get in.
Okay, because the ACC is tougher than the SEC, and it's just as tough as the Big Ten. I mean, right now, you got 5 teams sitting in the top 25.
Well, you have 3 in the Big Ten in the top 7. So, I mean, and then you have Penn State at 12.
Yeah, and that number 7th team has beaten nobody.
And Nebraska was in the top 10 all year until they just got pummeled by Ohio State. And they fell all the way to 21. So
they should have fell completely out because they're not a very good football team.
Yeah, I understand that. And you got beat by 59 points. You don't deserve to. You don't deserve to be ranked in the top 10 anymore.
Yeah, and the problem is the week before they go to Wisconsin and lose in overtime. There's a big drop-off between the best 2 teams in the Big Ten and the 4th place team. I mean, right now, Penn State is a better team than Wisconsin. They have better win. They beat Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, they end the season with 1 or 2 losses. Wisconsin got 2 losses. Which team's got the better record? The team that beat Ohio State.
Well, they both are 7-2, but
all right.
Beat Ohio State. Now, my point is this: Wisconsin's best win is against who?
LSU. I guess.
Okay. And that was LSU when they started the season off, 2-3, fired their coach?
And well, they were 0-0 when they played.
Yeah, which means there's no way to know what they were.
Wisconsin beating them start that tailspin. You can't say, well, they would have, if they would have beat Wisconsin, they would have fired their coach. I mean,
they were going to fire their coach as soon as he lost 2 games.
5-3, they're still a quality team.
Yeah, but LSU is your best win. Penn State's best win is Ohio State.
I understand that, but it's where you came from, Mike.
Penn
State wasn't ranked all year. They were unranked when they beat Ohio State. So how?
Wait a second. So what you're telling me is this: sports writers determine who the best teams are. Because when you do, there should not even be a preseason top 25. There shouldn't be a top 25 till week 5, because nobody knows what anybody has until you play some games.
I understand that, and that's why they don't do the FBS ranking until last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they shouldn't do any rankings because the FBS kind of, pushes forward the regular polls kind of contribute to what the FBS is.
Wisconsin 7-2 with the toughest ranked schedule in the country.
See, that's a bunch of shit. It just is. To tell me they've got the toughest schedule, it means absolutely nothing. Who's their best win? Their toughest schedule is their toughest schedule because they had to play Ohio State and Michigan. They lost to both of them.
Yes.
Ohio State in overtime didn't lose like Nebraska did 62-3, and Nebraska was ranked ahead of Wisconsin until they beat them.
Yeah, and nobody in God's green earth thought Nebraska was a top 10 team. And they proved it. The first good team that Nebraska played tore the hell out of them. Because Nebraska is just a defensive team. And let's face it, Ohio State, from that Nebraska game on, will be a top 4 team because they have the best coach in the country. And every year, they either start off slow or they hit a slow spot in the middle, and then Meyer puts it together. But, to say they have the toughest schedule, they've played, Nebraska, who won't be ranked by the end of the year. Outside of Ohio State and Michigan, they're probably going to play nobody that's ranked at the end of the year.
So what if Wisconsin beats one of them in the Big Ten championship game?
And they still don't. Well, it's according to what happens in everything else. Number one, a one-loss Louisville team whose loss was to Clemson by 3 and who has beaten good teams all year
deserves to go over the Big Ten champion.
What's the Big Ten champion mean? You play your schedule.
Right. If Wisconsin wins out, and they take the divisional championship, Aaron, here's what happens to them. They get ranked 5th or 6th. That's it. They play on New Year's Day. That's what happens to them. Seriously. I can't imagine a scenario where they crack the top 4. I can't. You guys have just been telling me, look,
they've got
the 2-loss team is not going to make the Final Four. That's it. They're done. People are looking at this Texas A&M loss and saying they're done. That's it. That's all it takes. Wisconsin just, unfortunately, they're going to get hot. They're going to win out at the end of the year. They're going to end the season, and they might even win their conference championship, but it's not going to matter. They've already got those 2 losses. I can't see the scenario. Now, I don't know squat about college ball.
Louisville still, if Louisville wins out, they'll beat a Wake Forest team. This is a good team. I think they're 6-3. They beat Houston at Houston, which is a team that beat Oklahoma. They didn't turn out to be what people thought. And then they'll beat the hell out of Kentucky. They'll beat Kentucky by 50 or 60 points just to prove a point at the end of the year. And that's a team that in the SEC in their division are 2nd or 3rd place. And Wisconsin finishes out with what? Minnesota, Illinois, and Purdue?
I know Minnesota, Illinois, and is it Purdue or is it?
Yeah, I think it's Purdue at Purdue. And this is the thing. With their lack of offense, they could lose one of those 3 games.
Well, anybody can be beat on any given day.
Then they're playing in the Freedom Bowl or the Independence Bowl or whatever you want to call it. But yeah,
somebody likes a smart-ass Oz.
Well, I'm serious. Can you see? I don't want to belabor this point because this is a so-called pick'em show. But can you really see a scenario where Wisconsin gets hired in 5?
I could. I could see some, but it would take a lot of teams. It would take Louisville losing again.
A lot of losses.
It would take Washington losing a couple games. Here's the thing. If Washington gets to the Pac-12 championship game, and they've beaten Washington State, USC, Utah, all three top 20 teams. Should Wisconsin go over them for beating Ohio State or Michigan in a championship game?
I don't think so.
I think it depends on the way they lose. If they lose big to an unranked team, then yeah, they'll fall a lot.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not going to lose to an unranked team because all three of those teams are ranked. But if they lose to Colorado in the Pac-12 championship game, I mean, Colorado is going to finish in the top 10. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now I think they're, 14 or 15?
Well, as you were saying, Mike, they could lose twice. Washington could.
Oh, they could lose 3 times, but they won't. They're going to win every game they play.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they play USC. They'll beat USC. The only game that's scary to me is the Washington State game. Because Washington State has the air raid with Mike Leach.
Colorado beats them in the Pac-12 championship.
Colorado's not going to beat them because Colorado's problem is this. Colorado, like Wisconsin and these other teams, not much offense. They're basically a defensive team. And it's possible right now you can make the case that Colorado is a top 3 defense in the country. I mean, if you look at their scores, they beat Stanford 10-5. I mean, it seems like they beat
10-5.
10-5. They beat UCLA 14-10. I mean, but Colorado's a really young team. I don't think they're ready to do it yet, but I think Colorado's a team you can see in a playoff in another year or two. But are we going to pick some games at some point?
Yeah. We're going to get on to picking some games. Okay.
And we're doing it with the point spread, right? Unlike the NFL ones.
Yeah, I've got a list of, I don't know, maybe about 15 to 15 games here, and most of them don't look extremely competitive. So, yeah, we're going to play this with the point spread.
You got to write down who picked what, too, Oz.
Yeah, I'm going to do, okay, I'll write down who picked what.
Yeah, I always got to do it for the NFL thing, and it's a pain in the ass.
Because I'm just playing moderator here. I'm going to let you guys go at it. Now, look, you guys want to have
picking the games, too.
What was that?
Oz is picking the game, too.
Yeah, well.
All right, Oz, Oz doesn't watch college football, though, really.
Not really, no.
Everything Oz found out about, like,
Wisconsin. You're just gambling.
Hey, everything Oz found out about Wisconsin and Louisville, he found out today doing a Google search.
Oh, come on.
Am I not right?
Come on now.
I think Oz should start watching more college football to see who's replacing the Rams quarterback situation.
Google
the Rams need to worry more about who's going to replace their head coach.
Yeah, I'm wondering about who's going to replace me on this show after I get my intelligence insulted again. Come on now, Google search Wikipedia. Come on now. Seriously?
You didn't say it, Oz.
No, I know.
No.
I
said it. All right, are we ready yet?
Yes, we're ready to say it. Now, okay, here's the first game, and while you guys were debating about who has the toughest schedule in college football, I'll tell you who has the toughest schedule in college football, Mississippi State. They're going up against number 1 Alabama this week after taking out Texas A&M last week, 35-28. The point spread on this game at Alabama is -29.
Jeez.
What are you thinking, Mike?
I'm going to take Mississippi State in the points. I don't have much else. That's just a lot of points for a team that's pretty decent.
Yeah, coming off a huge win.
Yeah, but then again, they could have a letdown because of the huge win, and Alabama's probably mad because they only won by 14. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Mississippi State in the points. I think Alabama beats them by 28.
Wow. Okay, so if this thing goes down by a point, then you're not going to bet it. Okay. What do you like here, Aaron? I'm going to go with the plus the points as well as Mississippi State.
I'm going to go the other way. I think Alabama is going to be learning from Texas A&M's mistake of not looking past them. I think Alabama routs them, probably 56-10, something like that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. How about this one? Oh, and by the way, I just wanted to point out to all of our listeners that the rankings I'm quoting are from the gruelingtruth.net power rankings, which are the only rankings that matter. Am I right, Mike?
They are. They're the only ones that don't have a bias anyway, because I'm not really a fan of any specific team.
Okay. Fantastic. And an expert on all things football. Second game, let's go with Baylor at number 12, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is favored by just over 2 touchdowns, 14.5. points. Aaron, I'll let you go first on this one.
Oh, Baylor, Baylor was ranked a lot higher this year. They had, bad losses. I think I'll take Baylor with the points on this one.
All right, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to take Oklahoma and give them because Baylor's defense is not very good. I think Baker Mayfield lights them up, and I think this game ends up 56-10. Now, Baylor will score more than that, but do you say it's 14?
14
and a half.
Yeah, I'll take Oklahoma, and I'll give you the points.
I'm setting a dangerous precedent here, but yeah, I'm gonna take Oklahoma minus the points here. I'm gonna agree with Mike again.
I think you're flipping points, but go ahead.
Yeah,
I think he's just agreeing with you because he thinks you know everything about football.
Well,
no, he would be right, but still.
It's just,
everybody listen to the NFL Pick'em show and see who wins 90% of the weeks. Go ahead.
My search on Yahoo and my Magic 8 Ball tell
Nobody
me.
uses Yahoo. You're not going to find out anything on Yahoo.
Oh, gee, I guess that's my mistake. And here I was thinking it was better than AOL. You guys, come on. I'm a professional researcher here. All right, third game.
The dial-up internet's gotten a lot quicker for you, though.
Third game on the list. Wake Forest at number 5, Louisville, and the cannon, Mr. Jackson. Louisville favored by 34.5 points. That's 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm going to take Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a decent team, and that's a lot of damn points.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. I mean, I can't. Yeah, I gotta be. Look, if I had to bet this one, I'd be pragmatic and go for Wake Forest. Because 5 touchdown difference, come on, that's too much to cover. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I think that they know something. I mean, if you're picking,
yeah, of course,
5 touchdowns is a lot. I'm taking Wake Forest with the points. I can't see a 6-3 team losing to an 8-1 team by 35 points. I mean, if that's the case, that conference is weaker than we think.
So we all agree Wake Forest. And we all don't think it's weak. Just you do, and maybe Oz. I don't know.
We all do except for you and you. Okay. There's new meaning to the word all there. All right. So next up, how about number 15, West Virginia at Texas? Texas favored by 2.5. Where'd you put Texas on the rankings? For some reason, I didn't write this down.
They're not.
Okay.
They got
Texas is favored in this game, 2.5 points.
Yeah, they got the running back Foreman who's been tearing stuff up. West Virginia was undefeated. West Virginia is about the only team in the Big 12 that plays any defense, though. But I think it's Aaron's turn to go first.
Yeah, we're going to let Aaron go first on this one. Go ahead, Aaron.
I'll tell you, I don't understand why West Virginia is still ranked below Texas A&M, Oklahoma. I think West Virginia, like you said, their defense is pretty good. They're 7-1. And for some reason, getting no love. I'm going to take West Virginia with the points.
Mm-hmm.
I think
they win the game straight up.
I'm going to go Texas. I think they're playing well right now, and the reason West Virginia's schedule, and I mean their schedule's not that tough because the Big 12 is pretty weak. I mean nobody plays defense. It looks like an arena football game most of their games, especially if Texas Tech's involved. But I will say this, because of that, I'd rather watch the Big 12 than any other conference. But Oz.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, my 8 ball is telling me that the West Virginia defense is enough. I think that, Texas, I think one of the reasons why Texas isn't ranked, or at least very, very low on most polls, is just that they're a fairly one-dimensional team, I mean, relative to some of these other teams. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with West Virginia. I think West Virginia wins. Texas is tough to play at, but no, I'm going to say West Virginia. I don't think one runner is enough. Right, okay. So next up, we've got Pitt at number 3, Clemson. Number 3, Clemson. Huh. Interesting ranking there.
Michigan's got better wins. Michigan's beaten Penn State. They beat Colorado. So.
Well, I like
that
Michigan
really
this
Clemson,
year.
other than the Louisville game and their game this last week, they basically played to the level of competition. What's the point spread on this?
20 points. Clemson is minus 20 on this. I, for one, think Pitt covers.
Yeah, I'm taking Pitt to cover. I think Pitt's a good team. I mean, They lose games by 3 points to North Carolina, 3 points to Virginia Tech. And remember, Clemson's played to the level of competition most of the year. It took them overtime, I think, to beat North Carolina State. So I'm going to go with Pitt, take the points, and Clemson beats them by 17.
17, okay. All right, Aaron, what do you got?
I'm going to take Clemson with the points on this one. I think Clemson's that good. They're 9-0 for a reason. They played Florida State. They played Louisville. They, like Mike alluded to, they have some wins against, played down to their competition. At this point in the season, I don't see that happening. I think they're going to take care of business at home, and they're out to prove something too. Why they are, number 3 in the country, and they need to stay in that playoff push. And I think they're going to try to, prove the point this week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I like it. USC, the Trojans, are going to Washington, number 4 Washington, and I presume they'll be in the official FBS rankings as well. Washington is an 8-point favorite. I'm going to go first on this one because USC is a team I get a lot of exposure to out here in Orange County in the news and on TV. Now, USC, to me, has been one of the most inconsistent, unpredictable teams this season. I can't tell what the hell they're going to do. But I will say this, I don't think Washington's been scared yet this season. I think USC is going to keep them honest. I think this is going to be within a touchdown. So I'm going to take USC plus the 8.
I think Wisconsin beats them by 20 points. Or Washington beats them by 20 points. I agree with Mike on this one.
I just think USC is still feeling the effects of Lane Kiffin. I just think their program is in rebuild mode. I think they have a lot of stuff from the Reggie Bush scandal and the Lane Kiffin stuff. Let's face it, Pete Carroll left that program in bad shape. In good shape when he left, but it's really taken a turn for the worse. I think Washington State beats them by even more than 20 points.
Wow.
Well, I think this. I think USC will keep the game close most of the game. I think USC is a really good team. They got JoJo Schuster, who's maybe the best wide receiver in the country. The quarterback they've got that came in and replaced, I forget who the starter was, but has done a great job. I think they're a really good team. They just can't hang with Washington, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. They seem to have a lot of talent. Maybe you're right, Aaron, about how, this is a scandal hangover kind of thing because they seem to have a lot of talent out there. And, sometimes they play and they look friggin' awesome. And the other
a lot of talent doesn't make you a good football team. And,
sure.
I don't think any really good football team gets beat, 62-6. I just don't.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's also, it is,
fair enough.
3 months later almost, 2 months later, they've got a new quarterback. They were a talented team before, but they were a young team. And when you take a young team and you throw them to Alabama, basically a home game for Alabama, I think they played it in Texas or something, I don't think you could expect that. And that was like a 13-6 game through most of the first half, and then all hell broke loose. I just think USC is a lot better than what they were at the start of the year. I still think that they're one of the 25 best teams in the country. But there's a difference between a team that's between 20 and 25 and a team that's number 4.
Yeah, USC, I saw that game, and USC in the second half was total deer in the headlights in that game. They were just not ready to play that game. I think you're right.
I think this is their toughest test since then. Washington.
Yeah, but isn't it one of Washington's toughest tests of the year, too? Isn't this a toughest test for Washington?
The toughest test was probably Utah at Utah. And, the thing people don't realize is Utah over the last 5 years, the 5 years combined, is the number 1 team record-wise in the Pac-12.
They're the most consistent. They have a good program building. I just think that the last time USC played a top 4 team, and, Washington just put up 66 points at Cal.
And Cal.
So I admit that, we'd had this debate, online and stuff. I've started to pay a little more attention to Washington, beating Cal 66-27 at Cal. Cal's always pretty decent at home, and they're not a bad team. So I just think Washington's got too much firepower for anybody in that conference right now.
Well, I don't know. The Golden Bears are not exactly a good team this year either.
They're a decent team. They're an average team.
Yeah,
you got to go to California and play. And, I mean, as we've already established with the Big Ten, it's hard to go to the West Coast and play. Of course, Washington's already on the West Coast, so probably not as hard.
Okay, guys, I got the next one for you. Now, take it easy. We're not going to lose control of the show here. Illinois at number 7, Wisconsin.
How would anybody lose control over that?
No, I'm losing control of this show. Wisconsin is minus 26.5.
26.
Okay, Aaron, 26.5. Yeah. Okay, Aaron, tell us they're going to win by 4 touchdowns.
I actually think they will. It'll be like 42 to 14. But I'm going to take Illinois with the points.
You are?
I actually think there's a chance they'll win like 42 to 14 or 37 to 10, something like that. Okay. I just don't have enough faith in Wisconsin's offense. I'm a huge diehard Wisconsin fan. Don't get me wrong. I think they are one of the best 7-8 teams in the country. Defensively, they're stout. Their special teams don't hurt them. Their offense, they can pound the rock. They will pound the rock on Illinois. They'll win this game. Just I don't know by how much because I don't know what the hell's going on with their quarterback situation. You got Bart Houston, senior, started the year as the starter, lost the job. Hornibrook, he's been okay at times, but I just don't know that his youth is ready for what he's doing right now with the offense. I don't know that they have the balance that they need. Although Peavy and Wheelwright, some of these guys are starting to light up a little bit with the receivers that he has. He's starting to get a little bit more comfortable. But when you have 2 quarterbacks, in my opinion, you have none. So I'm not totally convinced that their offense can consistently put up because they haven't done it. But they had a tough run of 4 games. They had Michigan State, who was actually looking like they were going to be pretty good at the time.
No, they weren't.
That's the last time they put up a lot of points was against Michigan State, 30-6.
Yeah, Michigan State's horrible.
Yeah, but when they started the year, they were ranked number 8.
Once again, nobody knows what they are, and if you watch them at the start of the year, who do I see have played a first game in a season? I mean, their first game in a season, they played like a Colgate or Cornell and only won by a touchdown at Michigan State. So I'm going to go with Illinois off of this. The best team, Illinois has played 2 teams that I think they're better teams than Wisconsin. And that's Michigan, who they lost 41-8 to, and Western Michigan, who they lost 34-10 to. Had 25, 26 points. The other thing is Illinois played at Nebraska and actually had a chance to win that game late, even though it ended up 31-16. They had a couple turnovers. They lost 48-23 to North Carolina. North Carolina is a team with a lot of offense. Western Michigan is a team with a lot of offense. So is Michigan. I think Wisconsin wins the game like 28-13 or something. So I'm going to take Illinois in the points.
Yeah, I'm going with you guys. I'm going to take Illinois in the points. If the point spread on this game is 26.5, that means that Wisconsin has to score at least 4 touchdowns if they get the shutout. I don't know.
Now they might be able to do it just by Illinois turning the ball over and Wisconsin scoring on defense too, though. But I mean, you got to remember, Wisconsin's a team that had trouble with Georgia State earlier in the year.
I could also see this game being like a 31-3. I mean, it's not out of the question that Wisconsin can put up 31 points. They did it against Michigan State, who's better than Illinois.
No, they're not. How can you say that? Illinois just beat Michigan State. Michigan State's 2-7, Aaron.
Illinois is not a very good football team.
They're better than Michigan State because Michigan State is freaking horrible.
I did not know that they beat Michigan State. I stopped paying attention after the Badgers whooped their ass.
Well, they beat
I can't believe you guys can agree and still argue.
Well, I think it's because you try to instigate stuff, but that's all right.
Oh, come on. How am I always getting caught in the crossfire on these things? Okay.
And the fact that Illinois is 2-2 in their last 4 games, too. So they've played better. I'm going to go with Illinois, but Wisconsin probably wins the game.
Okay. Moving on. Number 2, Michigan, -20 at Iowa. Now, again, I don't know squat about college games compared to you guys. But do you feel like this might be a bit of a trap game for Michigan? Can you imagine them going in thinking themselves too big for Iowa and this thing is a lot closer than we think? I'm going to take Iowa plus the points at home.
Okay. I'm going to take Michigan. I'm going to give the points. I mean, I just don't think Iowa's very good. I mean, they lost to an FCS team or whatever you call it, North Dakota State, who's a good team. But if you look at them, they beat Rutgers by 7. They lost to Northwestern. They beat Minnesota by 7. They beat Purdue but gave up 35 points. They lost to Wisconsin 17-9. And then last week they lose to Penn State 41-14. So I'll take Michigan and give the points on this.
Okay, Aaron,
I'm going to go the other way. I think Iowa at home is a lot tougher than Iowa on the road. The Big Ten is – what's that?
I was just saying, I'm shocked. I didn't think.
Okay, now the thing is this, Aaron. Iowa, if they're better at home than on the road, they're 2-3 at home this year.
Yeah, but one of those is Wisconsin.
Yeah, another was North Dakota State, and the other was Northwestern.
North Dakota State is one of the best FCS schools in the nation. I mean,
which means they're an entirely different level of football than a Big Ten team.
But that's like Michigan losing to Appalachian State. You know, it can happen.
No, it's not, because Michigan wasn't that good that year. I mean, Michigan ended up, 500 that year. And Iowa will end up 500.
That's right about where Iowa will be.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Same damn thing. North Dakota State should not beat a Big Ten team that was supposed to have a chance to win the Big Ten at the start of the year. They're still an FCS.
I agree, they shouldn't, but it happens. Just like that's I'm saying,
my point is, it happened at Iowa.
Supposed to beat a Big Ten team, even if they're not supposed to be very good. They're not supposed to beat a Big Ten team.
Yeah, and it happened at Iowa. At Iowa. I mean, the only wins that Iowa has at home.
Beat them at the Big House.
Huh?
Appalachian State beat Michigan at the Big House. They don't lose at home very often. Even when they're bad, they didn't lose at home very often. And then losing to Appalachian State, but Michigan still played some Big Ten teams tough that year. It doesn't mean that Iowa's not going to play Michigan tough. Iowa's defense is better than people give them credit for.
Well,
I don't think Michigan's offense is as good as what people think it is. Wisconsin held them to 14 points and really should have beat them.
Yeah, well, they should have beat them, but since they only scored 1 touchdown and Michigan missed 3 field goals they should have made, it could have easily been 23-7.
If you watch that game, Mike, Wisconsin dominated the first half. I think Wisconsin missed 2 field goals, and they also turned the ball over a couple times.
So why should you win a game if you turn the ball over? I mean, that's part of the game, though. That's part of the reason why they have trouble on offense.
That shows you how good Wisconsin's defense is, because they could turn the ball over and still only lose 14-7 against big bad Michigan.
Well, it shows you how good
are we
Michigan
back to Wisconsin again? How are we back to Wisconsin?
Well, I mean, the thing is this, though. Michigan is a team that, I mean, let's face it. You talk about App State. Michigan lost to Oregon 39-7 after that. They lost to Wisconsin 37-21 and Ohio State 14-3. So it wasn't like they won a whole bunch of games that year. They beat one team that was ranked that year and were 0-4 against teams that weren't. But what's the next game?
You guys ready for the next one? All right, here we go.
Yeah, because I forgot what we were even talking about.
The number 11 Colorado Buffaloes, -15 at Arizona. Mike.
I think it's Aaron's turn, isn't it? Did I start talking?
I went
Hey,
first.
I'm the host. I get to choose. Okay,
pick
Aaron.
The game.
Oh, you want me to pick it? Okay, Colorado.
Yeah, let's make Oz go first instead of him sitting back and see what everybody else does.
Colorado minus the points. Arizona gives up too many points this year. Colorado.
I agree. Colorado.
I'm going to go Colorado just because Arizona just going to be 62-3, I think, by Washington State. I still worry about Colorado's ability to score points, though, and cover that spread. But I'm going to go Colorado also.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about this one. Here we got Cal, who got thumped by Washington last week, at number 20, Washington State, who's only favored by 14.5. I'm going to go first because that's way too little. Cal is going to get crushed again. Washington State, -14.
Hey, have you noticed, Aaron, that whenever he's sure about a game, he just voluntarily goes first, and the games that are hard, he lets us pick first?
That's right. I'm the host. I get to do that. That's the way you run your show, isn't it, Mike?
Who's playing the game?
I thought you were just a moderator. Now you're the host.
Well, you're the one that wanted to pick the games there, and you screwed up. I mean, pretty soon he's going to opine on something for half an hour.
I just don't want to be last place. I want to at least have some saving grace.
There's no guarantee I'm picking this worth of crap either. But what was the game again, Oz?
What was the game again? It's the Cal Golden Bears at
Washington State.
Washington State minus 14.
Washington State will score 60 on them.
I agree. Washington State it is.
Okay, that's an easy one. All righty. How about this one? How about number 6, Ohio State, minus 27.5 at Maryland?
If it was 123 minus 100, I would probably go with Ohio State. So I'll take Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State's going to rout Maryland as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I keep saying, I don't know squat about college football, but I do know Ohio State is better than that. So we're all in agreement on that one. Okay, now that's the end of my list, but I got one more for you guys.
Oh, God, here we go with the New Mexico Lobo crap.
Damn it. You guessed it. This is the game that everybody wants to see, man. Come on.
Everybody in your
University of New Mexico at Utah.
Everybody that's blind wants to see that game.
New Mexico at who?
From Albuquerque. Everybody from Albuquerque and Provo.
New Mexico at who?
Utah State. And I don't even have a line on this one because the bookmakers don't even care enough.
Because there is no line on it.
Oh, there will be.
So are we
you can bet on anything.
Are we randomly just picking the game then?
Yeah. Just randomly.
All right, Aaron, I'll let you go first on this one.
I'm going to pick the New Mexico Lobos, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
One, because I want to pick to make Oz happy. Number two, I'm going to share a story. I actually got to coach a guy that played at New Mexico named Donovan Portery. And Donovan, if you're listening, I'm going to actually tag you on Facebook, so you have to listen. I absolutely love this young man.
Yeah, he's quarterback, right?
He's a selfless player. Yes, played quarterback on the Green Bay Blizzard.
Yeah.
I grew very close to Donovan in the 1 year. Such a great class act, great guy on and off the field, and I couldn't be more proud to have known this guy. So I'm picking the New Mexico Lobos in honor of Donovan Porter.
Right.
Yeah, I just know this. I saw Utah State play USC right after USC played Alabama, and they lost 45-7. I think New Mexico's what, 5-4, 6-3, something like that.
Let's see. We are 6-1, I want to say, or 5-1 in the division, and about 2-3 outside of it. So we're basically we're 2 games out of first, behind Wyoming. And in second is Boise State, who we got crushed by earlier this year.
I love how he says we're 2 games out, like he's going fishing with the coach.
Look, it's my alma mater. You guys have favorite teams that you didn't even go to the school.
No, I've already established that I don't have a favorite team. Shithead. And
I know. I'm just taking on Mr. Wisconsin Badger here. Did you graduate from Wisconsin?
Yes, I did.
See? You did? Oh, okay. All right. All apologies.
God, I hope you did and just came up with that answer right off the cuff, Aaron.
One will never know.
Yeah, we will. I'll find out.
Aaron, I thought you were just being a homer. If, in fact, you are a graduate of University of Wisconsin, you get all my respect.
University of Wisconsin. You didn't say that. You said, did I graduate from Wisconsin? Yes, I graduated from high school in Wisconsin, and I graduated from Northeast Wisconsin Technical College.
Come on. See, if you had gone to University of Wisconsin, you might have understood the implication of what I just said, which was, did you go to U Wisconsin? So.
You never said anything about the university, and I understand what you're saying. I was being a smart ass.
Well, I want to bring this up, since we're going to go with where we went to college. Indiana State plays at North Dakota State this weekend.
Okay.
North Dakota State, give me the points.
Yeah, because I'm not there anymore. We know that. But, all right, you got to wrap this monstrosity up, Oz.
Yeah, let's see. Do I have anything else? No, I don't. Okay, so then.
What about the Western Michigan game?
They're playing Kent State. Not worth picking.
Oh, wow.
It'll be 56-10.
Yeah, see, I was.
But I would like to see Western Michigan play some top 10 teams just to see what would happen.
Okay, so let's just say this. If one of the top 10 teams were to lose this week, who will it be?
Oh, okay. That's a good question.
One of the top 10 teams lose this week.
Let's
who would it be?
Let's see. Okay, hold on. I'm going. Wow. Well, judging from my list, and I know this is like insane, but I've been known for my insane picks before, I'm going to say Washington, if only for the numbers. I mean, as an undefeated team, they haven't played much this year, and, odds say they're not going to go undefeated, all things being equal. So I'll say Washington. If I have to pick a top 10 team to be upset, Washington.
All right.
Mike, I asked a question.
So you're not going to answer
true.
it?
I get to go last.
Yep.
A top 10 team that could lose this week.
If you were to pick one of the top 10 teams to lose, who do you think it would be?
This may sound crazy, but I don't see too many top 10 teams that have much chance to lose this week.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're picking them to lose.
I know. I would say Clemson.
Yeah, see, that's the other one. Yeah.
I mean, Pitt's a good
football
team.
What do you think?
I think Pitt will get blown out. But
I'm going to say Michigan.
Yeah.
Who's Michigan play?
Iowa. At Iowa.
Okay. I could see Pitt beating Clemson before Iowa beating Michigan.
I could also see Wake Forest beating Louisville.
Huh?
So I could also see Wake Forest upsetting Louisville.
I could. And have you seen Wake Forest play? They're an all-right team, but they don't have enough team speed to control Lamar Jackson. Where Pitt's a team that can
and I don't think that'll happen either. I'm just saying things.
Yeah, I'd say all of them, I'd give Pitt the best chance out of top 10 teams.
Okay.
Because I think it's a decent team.
All right, well, hey, great. Hey, thanks. Nice question at the end, Aaron.
Yes, good job,
really
Aaron.
Good. Yes, really
you
good.
did a better job than the moderator, Aaron.
Thank you.
guess. Yeah, well, the moderator didn't.
Question.
The
Took an hour to get a
didn't
decent
kill
question, and it had to come from Aaron.
Talking about Appalachian State, I might point out. In any case, this has been the weekly college football pick'em show here at thegruelingtruth.net, as sponsored by gridironmo.com. I'm Oz Davis, the moderator for this show, and for the contestants, Mike Goodpaster and Aaron Zepnick, we are out of here. We'll talk to you next week.